Hi, my name is Lynn Timmers, and I've been with Fox World Travel for 13 full years. My favorite thing to do is exotic travel. I go to those destinations that most people would never believe of ever going to, and whenever I go to a destination, after I land at the airport, I'm standing, say, in Athens or in Cairo. I think I never thought I would ever be here in a million years. Tours that you do find, you're not going to get a lot of call for these exotic destinations, but they're really great bookings if you can capture what they want to do. This particular tour hit on all of the main parts of Egypt. We flew into Cairo here. We did some touring around in Giza, which is where the Great Pyramids are. We then flew from Cairo down to Luxor. And then in Luxor, we got on a cruise ship, a Nile cruise ship. They're not your typical Caribbean type cruise ships. They're much smaller scale, more like a river cruise ship. The cabins were spacious. The bathrooms were excellent as far as I was concerned. They had the meal program. Your drinks weren't included, but they had a pool on ship. They had a massage, spa type things. They have, excellent staff. So once we got on the cruise ship, we did do some touring around Luxor. We saw Karnak Temple, Luxor Temple, and I'm going to go through and give you some pictures there later. But then we cruised down the Nile to Aswan, and in Aswan is where we did an optional excursion, which if you're all the way in Egypt, you have to take a flight down to Abu Simbel, where the temples of Ramses II and his wife, Queen Hatshepsut, I can never pronounce it correctly, but we took a flight. There is a bus tour that you can take down there. The bus tour is very, very lengthy. It takes, I think, about 2.5 to 3 hours just to get down there, and it's nothing but desert. So we opted for the flight. It was a little bit more expensive, but totally worth it. And then when we flew back to Aswan, later that day, we took a flight from Aswan back to Cairo, where we spent a couple more nights. Some of the other people did take a train from Aswan back to Cairo. It's an overnight train, not my idea of a vacation at all, but some of the people thoroughly enjoyed it. So this here is a picture of Ramses II. On our first day, you take a tour of Cairo and the Giza area. Cairo itself is rather dirty, smoggy, very, very smoggy. The air quality there is very poor. So as you get out of town, you'll see it on some of these pictures where the pictures are very clear, but then in the background you can see smog. So this is just one of the statues that they actually moved from Abu Simbel up to Giza to put on display. This is another earlier statue that he really enjoyed people making statues of him. But you can see palm trees, very tropical climate there. We did see some young boys cutting down some of the palm trees, and they would put them on these camels and take them to wherever they needed to. Of course, here's us with the little boys. You would tip them. But it was just fun. I mean, this is something that your clients will be sitting there going, I want a picture, and the tour guides and the van drivers and such are very accommodating. This is some of the earlier pyramids. This one here, you can see how they structured them. This particular one is the one we actually went inside of. They build these as basically their graves, their tombs. So we did see a grave that was inside this one. A little hot, dry, but we survived. These are the Great Pyramids. There is 3, but the other one was hidden over here. But you can see this is Cairo in the background, where it is a brown, air, so the air quality is poor. This is your Sphinx with the pyramid in the background. And this is something I recommend everybody do, your camel ride. We took a sunset camel ride by the Great Pyramids and the Sphinx, and it was awesome. Something that you don't do every day. There were horseback rides on the Arabian horses that you could do as well, but we chose the camels. These are just going to be pictures of some of the temples that we went into. This is Karnak Temple, that was down in Luxor. This is the entrance to Luxor Temple. And these are obelisks over here. They have stories that they tell about the owner of the temple. This is also Luxor. And the very next day we did a tour of the Valley of the Kings, where they had found all of these tombs of the kings of this area. And King Tut was one of the tombs that we went into. It was an extra fee to go into it. And when we were there, it was just the sarcophagus that was still in the tomb, but now, like 2 weeks after we came back from our trip, they did actually move his body. They removed it and they put it in an enclosed case, so now you can actually see his mummy remains. We did go to an alabaster factory after that. This is something that you suggest to your clients that they should bring back as a gift for others or just a souvenir for themselves. This was a photo of the Valley of the Queens. The kings have their area to be buried and the queens do as well. And now we're cruising down the Nile. This is your typical, they call these feluccas, they're fishing. They would hit the top of the water to get the fish to come to the top, and then they would catch them with nets. This is the scenery as you're going down the Nile. These are actually water buffalo, so they do exist. You would find grassy areas right in the middle of the Nile, and you'd have water buffalo sitting out there all by themselves, but they did have farmers that came out with their boats and took care of them. This was a bridge we went under, and on top of the cruise ship we had like an awning, and we had to put all of that down and actually duck to get under this bridge. A sunset on the cruise. More temples. This was Kumombo. You see a lot of temples on this. This is one of those obelisks that I said, that those towers that they were building. This is one that cracked, so they never finished it. This is in Aswan now. This is the Philae Temple. It's one of the temples that when they built the Great Dam in Aswan, they actually took the entire island, they pieced this temple, they took it apart, and then they rebuilt it so it would not be covered by the floodwaters. This is one of the oldest Nile cruise ships that's still functioning on the Nile. I'd say maybe in the 20s. These pictures here are actually from Abu Simbel. As you can see, very blue sky. This particular one is of Queen Hatshepsut's temple. And then this one is Ramses. And when we went back to Cairo, our hotel, they have very nice hotels there. They have not so nice hotels and very nice. This particular one was nice. You know, they have the swimming pool, nice rooms, clean. They had very nice ones. This was a mosque that they actually let us go into. Normally females aren't allowed, but this was one that's up on a point in Cairo, and they allowed us to go into it. And this is kind of where the priest would stand up there and say his chants. And then you have to go to the bazaar and put on the old dress wear that they used for ceremonies.